luminosity in like your psionics, because a lot of it likes to remain unseen. So there is that existence with enough, like what it takes to create lights in like compression, vibration,
Right.
like metal heated up kind of thing.
Mhm.
So like, what has your experience with the unseen energies versus anything that's like people like make electrokinesis, like where already existing electrical circuits, they can fluctuate?
It's amplitudes. It's all amplitudes. The difference between seeing that effect at here or at here is amplitudes. And when we talk about sort of soft psionic abilities and hard psionic abilities, and a soft psionic ability is remote viewing or even telepathy, and not and meaning because you don't have to, again, bend or change matter and energy to use soft psionic abilities. You're just perception, you're seeing things, your awareness of things, your heightened sensory awareness of things. Also, most soft psionic skills are just about having extra awareness. Hard psionic abilities, which are the ones that actually change matter and energy, require greater amplitudes, much greater amplitudes to actually happen. So people who focus on their soft psionic abilities are not strengthening their psionic muscles sufficiently to do hard psionic abilities. You want to strengthen your psionic muscles to move objects, to bend matter and energy, then you have to practice moving objects and practice bending matter and energy. As long as you're focused on soft psionic skills, you'll get to a place we call a psionic dead end, which means you will get to a place where you'll make some progress and then you'll stop and you will make no more progress beyond that point. And you may be above the muggles, about here. So you may think, oh, look at all the progress I've made. But really on the scale of like, intergalactic development, you're down here and someone who's intergalactic average is up here. So you think your psionic abilities are super cool, but actually they kind of suck because you've gone into a psionic dead end where you're going to grow no further because you won't do the extra lifting of the extra weights at the gym, metaphorically speaking, to do the hard psionic disciplines to actually really master and strengthen your amplitudes. Anyone who's serious about self-mastery, personal evolution, real psionic development has to take it seriously and be willing to do the hard disciplines. Otherwise, you're just wasting time. You're going to be an agent of averageness if you don't. And so, take someone else's class. Basically, this is what I tell people. Look, you want to be average, you want to be, semi-normal, you want to be kind of cool, take someone else's class. I'm really encouraging my students to want to do better than that, want to be better than that, want to, recognize that I'm not setting a bunch of skills that take some complicated, mysterious way to decode them. And if you're a master student, you'll figure it out. No way. I am making this simple. If you follow and repeat the steps, something will happen. Benefit will occur. Development will occur. It's not like you have to decode this and figure it out. I'm laying out the steps that if you replicate the steps, you will get development. And so I don't want to set this up as some kind of mysterious thing that only a certain number of people can get. I want people to understand that it's math and that it's physics. Everyone can understand math, everyone can understand physics, and everyone can learn how to replicate math and physics.
Can you talk a little bit of your training courses, and like, I know you do consultations online?
Sure. So we just got the online course up. We're doing the beta class at the moment. So we're going through, kind of getting the feedback from my beta students on whether the video lessons that we've done so far are complete, easy to understand, simple and straightforward, whether, I have 20 questions that are the same question from the same people, and maybe I need to add Q&As or change some stuff with the video lessons themselves. So it's a beta. We're doing the beta process because I want it to be a little cleaner than it is when we throw it out to the whole rest of the world. So we're literally some days or a couple weeks, maybe a few weeks at the most, way from what we're going to call the official launch of the course. People can sign up. People can sign up for the second beta group because we're still putting together like 1 and 2 beta groups to just kind of run through the first 4 lessons and get the feedback so that we can polish that up a little bit. But within a short period of time, we're going to have what will be out of beta and into what will be considering a satisfactory online course, which to teaching the basic fundamentals of psionics physics and self-mastery. That's sort of the basics in the nutshell of what that is. I think, when we're done with the curriculum, I mean, right now I've got it worked out, the first like 12 or 13 lessons in the curriculum. And I know there's going to be maybe almost 20 by the time that I'm done, like laying out. This is the first time I've had to do the curriculum in this way. So I basically had to take my live class curriculum and say, how do I turn that into a whole bunch of video lessons and break it apart? So in the process of doing that, I think it's going to be almost a 20 lesson program. Lessons, the second 4, third 4, we kind of divided them up into quads. So they're kind of more digestible that way. But by the time someone gets to the end, I will have given every basic raw piece of data and information that a person who wishes to develop themselves into any direction, to do anything, may do so with those tools. The only part of the equation that they have to put in is the elbow grease. That's it. Like I will make sure with this course, as I have done with my in-person class, I am giving all the tools, all of them that you need to do whatever you want to do, anything, by giving all the basic fundamental tools that we understand that there are basic fundamental tools, and that there is nothing but the consistent daily exercise in the fundamentals to build those muscles. You don't build those muscles by doing fancy tricks. You build those muscles by working basic daily fundamentals every freaking day for the rest of your life. And that's what develops it. So we're very excited about it. I'm very excited about the course, very excited that that's gone up. And super soon, everyone will be able to sign up and get benefit of the fundamentals of how your brain works, how your mind works, what your brain waves are doing, how you focus them to make them do what you want, and what the fundamental rules and laws are that govern your internal processes, external objects, external individuals, the interactions we have with other biological energetic entities in the world, and how we continue to take that daily disciplinary practice into dynamic self-mastery. Dynamic self-mastery meaning self-mastery doesn't happen in a bubble, right? You're not in a snow globe mastering yourself with no influence from the outside world so that you can just develop without any kerfuffles. Dynamic self-mastery is, we got all kinds of shit to deal with around us as we're attempting to do that self-mastery that's trying and testing and throwing us off and making it harder to stay focused and stay on training schedules and so forth. But that's part of the process. Dynamic self-mastery is not just learning how to go to a meditation retreat where you have no distractions and no real life, and then expect that you're going to take what you learned in a place where there's no real life, and you're going to take that back to your real life, and somehow it's going to integrate.
Give and take, and like dedication, deep things, and the will and the solar plexus.
Yeah.
A lot of people feel like they don't have any, but there's always a little flame inside, even if it doesn't feel like it. You can always make it bigger, and that goes into will and empowerment and like the action to do what's necessary, the motivation, the dedication, the force, the magic, everything else. And no matter where you are, as long as you like start focusing in on that and then making it brighter, using the wounds and the pain that we've been through and the adversity as that strength training for it, that makes us stronger, that makes the fire burn brighter. Because take off that heart wall that like holds it all in, that makes, I don't know about doing this today, I don't have enough energy. Turning that heart wall of drain or whatever, suppression, and like bring it into the fire and then use it as fuel, and then it like makes you more powerful. And anything that comes up against you in adversity, you can learn to overcome, and then it becomes like your greater armor, your greater self beyond what you could have been if you did not face that adversity.
And that's part of being in a dynamic reality where those adversity things just happen. But I want to emphasize that you only need two things. Only two. Tools, dedication. Any pencil neck geek can decide that they want to have a ripped, Captain America body. If they just want to go to the place where the tools are, to the gym, and they want to put in the dedication to use the tools on a daily basis, then they can get ripped like Chris Evans. Okay. You can do that. It's just tools, dedication. That's it. We can complexify all of these things more, and they are sometimes. But my goal here is to really emphasize it's very simple. Two things. Proper tools that work, dedication. That's all. That's it. I am providing the tools. You're welcome. And everyone else gets to provide the dedication. That's on you. So
that's for like how much your help has amplified telekinesis for me. So please, everyone, get it while you can. And like, I'm looking forward to the course as well. When they come out, I'll be for sure taking them. So you want to give you a secret that'll help even more? Absolutely. Okay. So you were mentioning the Dantian earlier, which also in Japanese called the Hara. And there are different disciplines that talk about the diaphragm and talk about the positioning of where that is. And most people believe that it's 2 to 3 fingers underneath the belly button. Not true. It turns out that that's a deliberate misteaching so that people reading texts and things do not understand where the true source of your physical power body are, so that they deliberately tell people that it's either above or below your navel. So there are systems that will tell you that it's 2 fingers lengths above. There are those who will tell you it's 2 or 3 finger lengths below. Newsflash, it's your belly button. Your third chakra is your belly button. It's right there. It's exactly the spot of your belly button. It's not below, it's not above, it's your belly button. So you really want to focus on that center, focus on your belly button. That will change things. Trust me. So once you start focusing on where that actually is, you're actually focusing the energy where it's supposed to be instead of 2 inches below where it's supposed to be. So you get an effect when you're focusing 2 inches where it's supposed to be, but not the same effect as if you're focusing right on the center, which is like 2 inches behind your belly, but it's in the center of your body, like 2 inches behind your belly button, or depending on how big your belly button, your big belly is, maybe 3 inches behind your belly button or more, depending on how big your belly is, but it's about 2 to 3 inches right behind your belly button. Thank you. That helps. That makes sense with what I've tuned into with the navel chakra. Different aspects of the solar plexus. I'll like to take everyone's wisdom and put it on the shelf and like then examine it a little bit and like see what in integration. There seems to also be like some type of transmutation. You combine energies together place. Like the navel seems to have like a nourishment thing from the universe as well. Oh, for sure. Well, it's where your physical body draws in its physical power is through your third, right? Through your belly button. That's really where your physical body draws in that power. Because that's where you really, when you're breathing in your diaphragm right there, you pull it in, it's right there. That's the bellows. That's the hot spot for sure. So you know where belly button lint comes from? Where? Is it one of life's great mysteries on where belly button lint comes from? Is that not true? Do people always ask, where does belly button lint come from? What if I told you that I knew the secret to belly button lint? Well, you heard it here. Get ready for this. All right. So, like I just said, your third chakra is your belly button, right? So there's a spiral, right, that comes out from the front of it. So it's going like this in front of you, right? Okay, so your belly button's in the middle of that. So all the loose lint from your clothes is caught in that spiral. And so as you move around throughout the day, the little lint starts to swirl around slowly in that spiral, drawing ever closer towards your belly button, drawing it in because you got a little vortex right there that pulls that loose clothing particles right into your belly button. And then you have belly button lint because
the literal vortex of your third chakra is swirling around and draws those little lint particles, those fabric particles, right into your belly button. Belly button lint solved. You're welcome.
Well, that just made the whole show. So thank you for it.
I have all the secrets of the universe, especially belly button lint.
That was on my bucket list. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So yeah, and as we could talk for hours of things, so let me know at any point if you got to go. But yeah, for more,
I'll give you about another 15 minutes today before I probably got to go eat lunch and do some shit.
Cool. Thank you. So also like tuned into a bunch of other things that might amplify and help in your journey in any way, like, you know, as we exchange. Wonder what your intuition on wholeness and like holiness of like, there seems to be some fracturing with the mind, the spirit, the body, the soul, and other things, depending on how targeted an individual is when they're born, or even as they're passed down to them through other lives or in their DNA, their you know, the environmental factors. And then when we get visited or temporal dilated, there's many other things that like go into control, like with how people misinterpret with the depopulation agenda, how like many people, there's like very few people that want that and they're insane. That doesn't keep the whole future going.
Right.
So then what they really want is a harvesting battery type. Well, you know, like they need things, they need money to make money off of us. And then the spiritual unseen, like, oh, they need us alive so they, you know, so they can make more energy. So there seems to be something that is also taking people's energy or limiting them or holding them back if they see a threat growing, psionic emergence. And that's a challenge, but you know, with what we got in light, dark, and neutral on the planet and the big things of our potential and who we are, that's what we got to come up with when we're growing. What do you think on that?
I'm sorry, what was the question in there? What was the question?
Yeah, like what do you think on wholeness and like the path of like becoming whole, full, holy, like you know, being and believing ourselves whole in cultivation at the core, but then like you can see the trauma or the fracturing of altars and all the other stuff.
Sure. So our being is designed by its very nature to want to be whole. So if there's ever two parts of a person that get separated out or divided, or you know, a barrier put between them, memory blocks or suppressions or whatever, there's always going to be a desire to come back to wholeness, always. Now, anyone who understands function and dysfunction also understands that the path to wholeness can be interrupted by our own dysfunctions, self-sabotage, self-destruction, self-deception, etc., or can be assisted by our functionality, self-responsibility, self-awareness, you know, understanding that our feelings, our actions, our thoughts are our own responsibility, right? So no matter what someone may be attempting to make you think something or make you believe something through satellites or the internet or television or whatever, I don't care. If you're in such a weak energetic state to allow those things to affect you, then yeah, they're going to affect you. And if you're constantly complaining and whining about being under attack, I would suggest that the problem isn't that you're under attack. The problem is you're being a fucking pussy about it. You're whining about it. And instead of toughen up your field, you're complaining that you're being attacked, when the natural order of the universe is psionic beings are under psionic assault 24/7 by the naturally occurring psionic waves in their environment. Do I need to repeat that? Psionic individuals, psionic species are under psionic assault 24/7, 24/7, 24/7.
Things want what
So
you want, got.
yeah, so you can say, oh, I'm being attacked and they're yeah, so what else is new? Get over it. It's not going to change. It's not changing. There's always going to be something
Stronger.
pressing upon your psionic field. There's always going to be something trying to affect your thinking or your emotional behavior. There's always going to be something trying to do that. Quit crying about it. Quit being a baby about it. Quit going, oh, they're picking on me. I don't know how to defend myself. Get off your ass and defend yourself. Make your stronger psionic fields. Quit whining that you're under attack and recognize that we all are all the time. And the answer is to create a more sustained field around yourself so that you are less affected by that, or be a whiny little bitch and cry about it all the time and be a victim about it. And I'm using a little harsh words there because I'm really fed up with listening to people's victim mentality about how they're under attack. We're all under attack all the time. Quit being a victim about it. Quit being paranoid about it. Quit focusing on it. Quit focusing on it as the thing. By giving it all that attention and focus, you're giving those people permission to succeed in those things against you.
Yeah. You're stronger than you know, and like the attachment to that belief in weakness is like draining you slowly. But if you feel you're in attack, work up from the foundation. Work on camouflage, grounding, survival, resilience, defense, offense, protection. Like into like distractions, decoys, instinct, and like pain. If there's pain, then flip it like it's an explosive force. Flip it into a healing force. Train, like use everything they throw at you to make you stronger. We've been through the pain. It's like horrible, but we used it to make ourselves stronger. You can too.
Well, and I don't know too many hyenas or coyotes or lions that are out in the jungle or the Serengeti whining because someone's attacking them. Oh, boo-hoo, the hyenas are attacking today. Welcome to Tuesday, right? You know, like animals out in the wild are not bitching and moaning because there are things that want to attack them. That's normal. It's normal that things might want to attack you and eat you and change your mind or affect you. That's normal. So stop thinking that somehow we should be living in this perfect bubble where nothing attacks us and nothing disturbs us, and develop a better field that's protecting yourself from those things, instead of expecting that the rest of the outside world comply with your pathetic level of weakness.
Yeah. So every test again will make you stronger. You can't get stronger without the weight, the challenge. And if anyone wants to protect themselves easily, if they're getting like large amount of attack and they don't know, because it shuts down everything that you remember of like what could empower you and fear and like, I'm anything that wants to enter your bubble of reality has to or do any effect has to get into your bubble of reality, steal stuff, energy, authority from you. And if it's already having effect, it already does, and you gain that back, so it has less of a way in. Close all those back doors. Your body, your reality bubble of your environment, or your timeline, which is most of it's wounds. So you've gained wounds in the past. Those are usually used as back doors. So go back, heal those.
Right.
You'll find it has less effect. If anything negative, polarized, it has to have a vibrational match to that inside you already. And that exposes as that external thing tries to test your boundaries, and it ramps up. So then you got to transmute that or let go of it or whatever.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So let me make this connection. So people who understand that they have wounding need to understand that healing is strength, not healing is weakness. The more you don't want to go through the process to heal, the more you don't want to take the time and energy to do it, the more you want to make excuses not to do it, the weaker you are. Weaker you are. The more you refuse to acknowledge your wounding, the more you refuse to acknowledge trauma, the more you refuse to acknowledge that the most important thing to do, if you have those things, is to do the healing work. Most important, period. If you're not recognizing that, it's because you're not recognizing that path of healing is strength, right? The only way that you will get stronger is to go through that. And if you don't go through it, you will stay weak. So let me emphasize this in biological terms of strength and weakness. You want to be strong, you got to heal the wounds. You want to be weak, continue to ignore them and make excuses why there's somebody else's problem or why someone else did something or why someone else is doing something, instead of you taking responsibility for having a sustained defense field.
Escapism and the multiple distractions. But
yeah,
behind all distractions, within all distractions, you becoming your greatest self while you're here at any time. And facing those wounds as they come up, that makes you have the urge to, oh, I gotta take drugs or play video games or like whatever, watch football.
Yeah.
You face it, go into the center with extreme focus and give it love. Love contains every type of energy. You can like break it down further, but that's the simplistic. And then you allow it to go into what it wants to become. Pain will want to become healing, magic, power, lots of things. Any of the emotions, either the opposite or the balanced version. Allow it to flow into that, and you become more powerful for anything that has happened to you. And it's like it will then go into forming and shaping and building a foundation that your psionics has great effect as if it's nothing. And like also like, what do you think is the difference between like people that have to earn a certain thing and people being born a savant?
Well, savants don't necessarily have, all the advantages. They often have one advantage and then a lot of weaknesses. So here's an example of one of the smartest and stupidest savants known in the public sphere, a gentleman by the name of Dr. Ben Carson. Dr. Ben Carson was a neurosurgeon, apparently quite brilliant at being a neurosurgeon, apparently quite good at it when he was a practicing neurosurgeon. Anyone who has spent more than 10 minutes listening to him to talk about any other subject other than brain surgery can see that he is a moron when it comes to anything else. His ability to connect dots, reason, rationalize how certain things work, how certain things operate in the world are absolutely ass backwards. And the kind of if a normal person who wasn't a brain surgeon suggested some of the things that he suggests, you just look at them and go, wow, you're dumb. But the fact that he's a brain surgeon makes people want to think that, oh, maybe he's actually really smart. What he is an example of a savant who can become a brain surgeon. He's an idiot savant, meaning he's mostly an idiot, but he's got this one ability to do this one thing, which he focused on brain surgery. So, and case in point, the stupidest thing I've ever heard him say was his proposed theory that the Great Pyramids were used for grain storage. And that he has emphatically said, in spite of every other piece of evidence and other Egyptologists saying, no, dude, sorry, the Great Pyramids were never used for grain storage. There's nothing indicative that they were used for grain storage. There's no evidence that they were used for grain storage, and tons of evidence that they were used for other things. And he's still like, nope, the theory that I came up when I was in high school and I was 14 years old, that the Great Pyramids were used for grain, I'm sticking with that. That's an idiot. That's an idiot. That's someone who's an idiot. As someone who basically says an idea that I came up with when I was 14 and didn't know shit somehow contradicts every scientific expert in the world. And as an adult, I'm going to ignore people who have dedicated their lives to something that I know very little about, but I'm going to presume that I know better.
It was like
that's an idiot.
Ego boundary that keeps.
Oh, it's not just an ego boundary. That's dumb. Even an egotistical person would know not to argue with an entire field of scientific study. Right? At that point, you're talking about someone who's a narcissist or someone who is disassociated from the actual sort of rules of society. So you're talking about someone who could be on the autism spectrum at that point, or you're talking about someone who could be showing like serious sort of narcissistic traits. But interestingly enough, even though he seems to be a little ego driven, I haven't seen him exhibit a number of narcissistic traits that would make me think that he's a narcissist. I think the analysis is just an idiot savant that learned how to do brain surgery. But when he talks about any other subject I've ever heard him, people ask him his, comments or his beliefs on things, they're not just wrong and they're not just bad, they're dumb. They're just stupid. And there's no way that there's no other brain surgeon I've ever met who would say the dumb shit that he says. You know what I'm saying? I've never met a brain surgeon as dumb as he is who could also do brain surgery. So he's a perfect example of how a savant can learn how to do something really well and be terrible at everything else. So just because somebody gets one thing right doesn't mean they're good at anything else. It doesn't mean that they're balanced or that they've been given any kind of a gift. In fact, I would say people who have the most rounded averageness have the greatest potential.
Jack of all trades, love that.
The most rounded averageness has the greatest potential because you can grow that to anything. You can grow the mind to any level of memory retention. You can grow someone with a bad memory to photographic memory. You can grow someone with 100 IQ to 130 IQ or more. Right? You can change IQ, you can change memory. You can change someone who has balanced average qualities and make them super. But it's those balance of qualities that will make them succeed. It's the imbalances of those qualities that screw people up. So really brilliant people, there's all kinds of studies to show that like child geniuses, grow up into some of the most fucked up adults ever, that can't function. They can't function in society. They can't get a job. They can't go to work. They can't use the brilliance that they have to apply it to someone because they have no social skills. They have no ability to socialize with people who have lesser IQs than they are, or they have no way to know how to communicate with people who have different understandings of things because they're like, no, my IQ is so high, I know I'm right. It's like, no, your IQ is really high and you're really smart. You might have a really good idea there, but every smart person and every idea has to be checked, has to be tried, has to be tested, has to be experimented with. Even brilliant geniuses come up with shitty ideas sometimes and try them out in the lab and go, well, that was a shitty idea. Let's go to the next one. So just because you're smart doesn't mean that every idea you have is good. And so you've got kids, who are, showing IQs of 130 and learning 5 languages when they were 10. And now they, they found something they can do to work at a computer from home and never leave their house, and they become shut-ins and they become people that sit at their computers all day and drink soda and crank up to 250 pounds because they don't go outside and become one of those people. So I don't think in any way, shape, or form pointing at people who have exceptional qualities, like really exceptional, like savant level qualities, that those people are in a winning situation. I think most of those people have been dealt losing cards. Most of those people are not going to be able to take the cards that they've dealt with and turn them into something balanced because they're starting so out of balance. They're gonna have to bring that into balance somewhere. And it's hard to bring something into balance when you've got one trait or one quality that's so huge. So that's why I would say a balanced quality of an average person has way more potential than someone who starts out, with an IQ of 135 or something when they're 140 or 150 or whatever when they're 10.
Yeah, and so can you speak a little on your experience with training different types of people and your success in seeing that everyone can achieve it, even if they weren't dealt with what they perceive good cards?
Yeah, no, again, I in my experience, a person coming with, again, sort of balanced average qualities is more trainable. Is just more trainable. They're more teachable. I find actually students who come in thinking they know a bunch of shit are often some of the most difficult people to work with because they've learned things wrong. They've learned things badly and they don't want to unlearn them, or they don't want to admit that maybe they learned them wrong and maybe that there's a better way. And because no one wants to all of a sudden accept, oh, really? I've been doing that the wrong way for the last 20 years. Oops. People who can't do that to themselves. And I don't know, I'm the type of person at some point I learned in my life that if I do something wrong, or even if it's something I did for 10 or 20 years, the minute that I go, oh, that was wrong, oh, my bad, fuck me, I screwed up, I should have thought about that. So the willingness to sort of acknowledge your own mistakes quickly is pretty important. And a lot of
Huge
people
work.
simply can't. Yeah, and a lot of people have a hard time doing that. And I find the more accomplished certain people are, the less likely they are to do that. People with balanced average qualities are the most willing to accept their flaws and the most willing to accept instruction and the most willing to accept new training protocols. And that goes back to soldiers, that goes to psionic students, that goes to anything that I've ever tried to teach anybody or train everybody in my entire life. That the people who can learn the best, the people who have the potential to make the most progress, are the people with a fundamental balance of average qualities. It's the people, to be honest, with more of the extraordinary qualities that are harder to deal with, that are harder to train, because it's harder for them to accept that they may have been doing something wrong for, the last 20 years.
Be like
or 10.
Barriers on people's minds that they refuse to let go because they've pulled it for so long. And the more, don't think of it like a bad thing of being wrong. Think of it a good thing. The more times you've been wrong, the more times you've been come up against other opinions so that they can challenge that stepping ladder or whatever of belief that gets you to that higher level. And every time people feel distraught when it gets destroyed. Think of it like, okay, you'll feel that a little bit each time, but after a while, it doesn't feel that anymore, and you want it to happen because then you can build it up even stronger.
Andrew Carnegie said that any successful businessman has to fail more than they succeed. That you will learn more from your failures than you ever learned from your successes. And he says, if you want to find someone who's going to be good at something, find someone who's failed at something a bunch of times and learn from their mistakes. That, he was fully encouraging that, mistakes are absolutely the path to success. There is no other way to get to success other than to make mistakes and other to, go via the path of failure and screwing things up. I'm a firm believer that you learn more from failure than you do from success. If you do something and you succeed at it right away, I doubt you learned much. I doubt you learned much about how that thing works just by succeeding at it right away. Just because you succeeded at it, you got it right away, it doesn't mean you really understand it. You kind of have to fail at it to go, oh, no wonder I failed at that. I didn't even realize what I was getting into when I started this. Now I'm starting to see, failure builds the ability to make success happen. And I think as human beings, we have to be really comfortable with screwing up and with failing and with going, oh, I got to self-correct that and be like, oops, I made a mistake. Because not admitting that is not making progress. That's not how you're going to go forward. You're not going to develop. At some point, you have to be willing to, at the drop of a pin, when someone's right, not some people go, you fucked up. You go, oh my God, I fucked up. Don't just accept that you fucked up just because every time someone points their finger at you and tells you fucked up, because that's not always the case. Sometimes it's just people pointing their finger. But you always have to be willing to objectively look at what you did. Was this a success or was this a failure? And if it was a failure, what did I do wrong that made that fail? Because if you want to succeed the next time, you need to admit about all the things that you failed and did wrong. So failure is the path to success, for sure.
Yeah, and it's understandable because the path to truth is hard, objective truth versus subjective, and it has like an interesting cultivation meditation you can have and a light that you generate, and then you put it onto things you're in focus of, and then you breathe that in and see if it's true. It's not always use external, like, oh, because you want to check your work, but like see what's going on. I find like belief versus knowingness. There's belief that is cost energy, which is not true, and then the belief that lines with knowingness that it doesn't cost any energy and it's there. You can feel and cultivate a sense that goes into figuring out and having bring up the dogmas or the shadow of belief, and that has like certain permeations of doubt around it that can
Right.
then transmute it and be like, oh, okay, I feel a little bit of wrongness here. How do I make that stronger alignment with truth? And you can heal that and then make it better. And then it has big effects on the body for sure.
Huge, huge.
So I know you got to go. So can you list how people can reach you, and then a little extra plug
sure.
Event?
Sure. So my website is www.covertspacecowboy.com. A Facebook page, which I think is called the Captain Randy Cramer Facebook page, but you can also find that via searching Covert Space Cowboy. All the links to the class and what's happening, it's all on my website. You can go there. Anyone who wants consulting appointments, wants to chat with me about personal things that are happening, ask me questions. There's a link to my appointment calendar that people can click on there, find a slot that's open and click on it and book an appointment. The conference again this month here in Sedona is called Sedona Cosmic Awakening, which is www.sedonacosmicawakening.com. I believe, again, we're almost sold out. Almost super close. So anyone who still wants tickets for that, they better jump on it super quick before they're all gone. And that's all sort of I know at the moment of everything that's happening. I know from what a lot of other things that are hearing and what I'm hearing behind the scenes and people asking me about, there should be a whole bunch more stuff happening in the next few months. And, you know, people want to pay attention and keep focused on that and pay attention to where it's happening in my world and what's happening with who I'm doing interviews and stuff with. There's more stuff coming. That's all I can say. I'm talking, a lot of people have been ringing me up and sending me my emails and literally begging me to do things and be on their shows and do stuff. And I will do all of that in a minute. When I wanted to get all this online class stuff done, so there's going to be a lot more of me doing some interviews pretty soon and so forth. But mostly I want to give people the heads up, alien invasion, months away. From what I'm being told, we are months away. Be prepared. Oh, and I think the last thing that I should mention, which is one of the most important things that's happening in current events right now, the Office of Naval Intelligence report that will be coming out on or before June 1st. So the people who've been paying attention, the Navy had the whole Tic Tac video thing, the Nimitz incident. People should know what I'm saying when I say about that. That was a little of events that caused members of the Senate Intelligence Committee to write up a very thick, multiple-page request of information to the Office of Naval Intelligence on unidentified aerial phenomenon, debris, recovered things. I mean, it was pages of very specific questions asking for very specific information related to any and all things, you know, outlined in those requests. So anyone who knows what a proper bureaucratic request looks like would know that that was a serious request for information. Now, that kind of sent that off. Office of Naval Intelligence went, okay, give us a minute, disappeared. We were waiting to kind of, oh, now what's going to happen? I want to say about a week ago, maybe within the last 2 weeks, Office of Naval Intelligence stepped outside its door and said, you know, that report we're working on, should have it done on or before June 1st. We'll get that done. See you in a minute. And then they went back into their shadowy, dark offices to work on it. So on or before June 1st, we should see something that I would reasonably say we should not expect the totality of possible information to be released in this report. That's naive. I'm not going to be naive, and I don't suggest that anyone else be naive about that and think that we're going to get all the info. Probably not. But any percentage of that totality of data that we do get is likely to be huge. The information that we got about the Nimitz incident itself, anyone who's looked into what really details are in there, it was huge. At the time, no one had ever been able to release a story with that content, with that information that got admission from the Defense Department. It was like, yeah, it's a thing. That's real. No, we're not going to tell you anything more about it, but yeah, it's real. Like those things happening when compared to incidences of the past It's huge, huge. That's huge. And it was small, but it was huge. I expect whatever's coming next to be bigger. So I don't know what it's going to be. It's not my department. I don't know how much of that totality of information it's going to be, but I would expect it to be significant, deeply significant, whatever that turns out to be. And I just heard Michio Kaku on television a couple nights ago. He's the MJ12 scientist. So anytime Kaku says something, it's what they want you to believe and how they want you to think about stuff. He's not a bad guy. I don't think he's a bad guy for being the MJ12 scientist. He's got a job to do. And sometimes it's a shitty job. I have watched him do television interviews sometimes where clearly he's frustrated wanting to sit there and have to answer the dumb questions that he has to answer. And so I'm sorry that someone of his caliber sometimes has to bring himself down to the PR level of communicating to the mundane public. I feel your pain, dude. I feel your pain. Sometimes I have to do the same thing. But he came out, did a few minutes of an interview on Colbert Show, and the end of his little 5-minute blurb was essentially saying that he thinks it's very unwise that we are broadcasting our location and where we are to the rest of the universe, essentially answering a question that has yet to be asked, which is if and when we are facing an outside force, why are they here? Well, we've been sending messages for the last 100 years telling everybody where we are. It was only a matter of a time before someone showed up and knocked on our door and decided they wanted to try and take some stuff. So that little bit, I think, is all fits in with the progressive narrative. I think everything else that we're seeing pushing us towards military conflict with the Chinese, the Russians, the Iranians, and the North Koreans is pushing us towards the World War III step, which is the very most immediate step, which will after be alien invasion step. So still want people to be thinking about that. Still want people to be prepared. Don't panic. Don't freak out. Don't get scared. It's not that bad. Just stay out of the way when it happens. Trust me. Just stay out of the way. Most people will be fine if you stay out of the way. Period. Oh, if you're dumb, if you're super stupid, okay, and you want to go out and prove that the aliens on the ground are just a bunch of holograms, and you want to go prove they're holograms by touching them with a stick, do that. I fully encourage you to do that. If you think that they're holograms and they're fake and you want to go poke them with a stick, for the sake of Darwinism, I fully encourage you to go poke them with a stick. No, don't do that unless you're dumb.
Survival fittest. There's a lot of that going on. Yeah, So yeah, thank you so much for coming on, and
my pleasure.
Really appreciate it. Yeah, we'll have to have you on if you ever want to, and then we can have more discussions and take
for sure
questions and make it more of a thing. Yeah, and if people want to reach me, you can get me on psionicleague.com and YouTube Psionic League, and I'm also on Facebook and consultations. And we'll we do more things in the future. Let us know in the comments and share as much as possible if you want to see more of these. And please go see your Randy at his event.
I have one last thing. That I want to share. So the word psionic is now officially into the public lexicon. You're welcome. I haven't spent the last 10 years trying to change this for nothing. But anyone who has seen Godzilla versus Kong yet, you've seen it. If you haven't seen it, it was fucking good. He says psionic connection when he talks about the telepathic uplink that they're using. He uses the word psionic officially. Major motion picture. That's a new one. And I've heard several people who have talked about their reviews of the movie who have also used the word. So it is now official. The word is in the lexicon. Stop using that other word. Stop it. So yes, make sure if you have any point of reference or reason to use the word, that you use the word psionic, because it's now in the lexicon, bitches. You're welcome.
Mm-hmm. That needs a party.
That's it. And it's huge. It's huge. I felt very self-satisfied about that, because there's been one person, hitting that pony for the last 9 years, and that's me. So you're welcome.
Yeah. And again, if you guys want to share this as much as possible, if you guys want us to talk about Godzilla stuff too.
So I just want to
say, yeah, I've heard the giant monkey underground with you as well.
I'm just going to say The script's a piece of shit, but Monkey Punch Lizard is worth it. It's worth it. It's worth it from Monkey Punch Lizard. It's worth it just for that.
More details in the future. We don't have to talk, I'll talk more. But like, yeah,
Hey.
share this if you want it to happen.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Go to his event. But yeah, thank you all for coming. Love you all so much. Thank you for keeping this going forward, as well as bringing psionics out to the world. Let us unite for humanity. Have a good day.